Hi, I'd like to give you a few tips about writing today. Writing is something that we all have to do from time to time, and if you're a student or professional, then it's something you do every day. I mean, so many times I've sat down in front of the computer screen and sat there and said, what am I going to do? What's coming next? So I try to remember a line by Charles Kuralt. He says, I believe that writing is derivative. Good writing comes from good reading. So before I sit down to write anything, I read up on the subject, whether it's business or fiction or something else. Researching your subject is a key to getting a good start. But the first thing to consider when writing anything is to consider the audience. What is it that they need from you as the writer? If it's fiction, then your job is to take them on an adventure, have them meet somebody they've never met, or have them fall in love, etc. But if you're writing something like a manual, then you should consider what is truly needed. I can remember when I was learning to fly, and they had a pre-flight checklist, a post-flight checklist, and an emergency checklist, and they were just pointed pieces of paper. And the emergency checklist I committed to memory because my flight instructor had a nasty habit of killing the power when I'm looking somewhere else. So at that time, you can't pull out a 300-page pamphlet in the middle of the sky when your engine goes silent. So I guess the point is, don't give somebody a 300-page pamphlet when a little handbook will do. Never assume you know what somebody needs until you've assessed their needs thoroughly. Research your subjects so you can immerse yourself in the expectations of your audience. Wilson Meisner said, if you steal from one person, it's plagiarism. But if you steal from many authors, it's research. And after all, how much of creation, what we create is 100% original? We all start by emulating somebody. We emulate our mentors or our parents or whatever. And similarly, I think it's the same with writing. Another form of writing, I believe, that's a lost art is the dreaded email. I remember when I first saw America Online, I said, this thing is never going to take off. Who's going to sit there all day long, write letters to each other on this electronic format and then get back to each other? And I was way off base, wasn't I? Again, I refer back to rule one when it comes to emails. Consider your audience and what is it that they need. If you're contacting a person about a lengthy subject, then don't hold the meeting in the email. How many of us have gotten one of those emails where the author goes into James Michener mode and they want to tell you about the whole history of the airplane? And I'm sure it's an interesting story, but that's definitely not what email is for, in my opinion. I find the email is best in a memo format. A high percentage of recipients never even get past the first couple of lines. If you got several points to make, put them in bullet points. Boom, boom, boom. This is what I need. This is what you need. Get back to me. I mean, keep it direct and to the point, and you'll have much more success in your communication. If there's something lengthy to discuss, it's best to put an attachment in there or request a face-to-face meeting. Rewriting, to me, is the key to good writing. I know this to be true about everything I've ever written. I've definitely rewritten. And I've read a lot of books by Kurt Vonnegut, and he has two categories of writers. He's got swoopers and he's got bashers. Swoopers go through boom, boom, boom. They write the whole thing and they rewrite it. Swoopers are rewriters. Bashers, they write one line at a time and they go through and make sure it's all perfect. I find that it's nearly impossible for me. It's nearly impossible. I just cannot do that. And basically the ending of everything is very important. And the writer rides off into the sunset. Endings are just as important as beginnings of any piece of writing. John Irving, one of my favorite authors, starts with the very last sentence of his book and then the second to last sentence, that because he finds that if the ending of the book is satisfying, then he knows the rest of the book will be satisfying as well. Even research papers need to have a satisfying conclusion. I find that the age-old practice of referring to the statements in the introduction is the best way to go about it. I expected this to happen, and this happened. I didn't expect this to happen, and this happened. But bottom line is, making the ending satisfying is the payoff for our readers. They've read through the whole thing. Make it count for them. And lastly, I'd like to say, make friends with writing. Some say that the scariest thing is a blank piece of paper. Bottom line, I think it's a beautiful thing if you've created something that's never existed before. So the next time you sit down to write, remember the rules apply the structure, but you provide the purpose.